Good morning and welcome to the Video CPA. I'm Michael Scott. I'm your host for this channel, and today we're going to be talking about extensions and some of the things that are true and false about extensions that you may have heard all your life. So let's get into it. A lot of people file extensions, about 10 million each year, and I have to say I filed an extension for probably the last 40 years. Every year for the last 40 years, if you're a tax preparer, you end up doing everybody else's tax return besides your own, and so you're always on extension, it seems like. So we have our two disclaimers here that you've seen before. Let's talk about some misconceptions on common misconceptions on extensions then. Get right with it. Does it increase your chance of audit? A lot of people think this. In fact, in practice, when you're doing tax returns as a CPA or some other, an EA or something like that, a lot of people are just scared to death to file an extension. They just absolutely do not want to file an extension. And I don't know if they just want to get it over with and get their tax return filed, or they are just scared to death that the IRS is going to do something if they file an extension. Even if they file, 2 days late or something like that, they file an extension and then put their tax return in 2 days late. They're just scared to death. So, no, it does not increase your chance of getting an audit. In fact, a lot of professionals, a lot of people in the profession thinks it probably decreases your chance of getting an audit because they take the audit numbers from, those people that actually file in April, the large bulk of the filers, okay? Now, the other thing is, does an extension extend the time to file and the time to pay? It does extend the time to file, but it does not extend the time to pay, okay? Which means that when you file an extension, you are supposed to pay the amount due with that extension. And a lot of people don't understand that. They file an extension and they think they get an extension in time to pay without penalty or interest, and that's just not true. It is true in a couple of cases, but not true in the large majority of cases. Now, do you need a good reason to file an extension? No. It used to be that we had to put a reason on every tax return as to why they were filing an extension. But that was years ago. And anymore, you don't even have to have a reason. It doesn't have to come back approved or anything like that. So it's a much easier system than what it used to be. So you don't need a reason. Don't even have to put one on there. Very few people file extensions is another misconception. Like I said, there's 10 million taxpayers each year that file extensions. So it's not something that doesn't happen very often. And then some people believe that when you file your federal extension, it automatically extends the state return with it. And that is the case in most cases. But there are some cases where that's not the case. You have to file a state extension form as well. So if you need to look at the state that you're in and see what their requirements are, because it may be that your federal extension is not going to extend the state. All right, some facts about extensions. We just talked about some of these, but it extends the time to file, but not the time to pay. A lot of people will estimate what they owe. If you're going through a tax preparer, they'll try to figure out what you owe. It is an estimate. And if you miss that estimate, they're not going to take away your extension or anything like that, but they will penalize you and charge you interest. So we had a lot of clients over the years that come in and they say, we don't owe anything. And so you put $0 on the extension, send it in, and they come back and they owe $5,000 or something. And so they get penalty and interest. And they don't care. A lot of them don't care. They just want to extend it and get it out of their hair for a while until they hopefully have the money to pay the tax. So, but I've never seen an extension denied because they've missed the estimate. And the IRS actually says right on the extension form that you don't have to. If you miss your estimate, you're going to get charged penalty and interest, but it's not going to impact the fact that you filed for an extension. All right. Does it need to be approved? No, we just talked about that. It used to have to be approved. Used to have to have a reason for it. Anymore, it does not have to be approved. It will extend the time to file until October 15th. It used to be that there were 2 extensions, but not anymore. So when you file your extensions are generally due on April 15th. This year, they're due because of COVID on May 17th, actually. So if you haven't filed your extension yet, you still have time. And if you're in Texas, it's June 15th. So because of the freeze down in Texas. So we've got a never-ending tax season this year, it seems like. It just goes on and on. But which it always does anyway, because a lot of people file extensions, and so you're still preparing tax returns until October 15th. All right, we talked about the federal extension not extending in all cases a state return. Extensions are easy to file. I mean, they're very easy. We'll talk about how to file them, but it's very easy for them to complete. Extensions do not trigger audits, and that's the biggest misconception out there, I think, is that they trigger audits. And the extension form is the 4868 for a 1040 return. Okay, so those are some of the facts about extensions. Like I say, they're easy to file, and several ways that you can actually file them. And so you can actually take your form 4868, print it off the internet, or go down to the post office or whoever's got them, the library, and fill it out and mail it in with your money. And like I say, there's only like 3 or 4 boxes that you have to fill out on that thing, so it's very easy to do. You can also complete it in your tax software. So if you use TaxAct or use TaxSlayer or TurboTax or something like that, you can do it in your tax software and file the extension electronically in the tax software. If you're a professional, if you take it to a professional tax preparer, they're going to file the extension for you, and most of them will just do it automatically if all your stuff hasn't come in yet. But they may call you and say, hey, you owe this, we figured you owe this much money based on the past or based on what you're telling us, and so you need to put a check with it. And if you don't want to put a check with it, you don't, and then you might have interest and penalty. Okay. Last way you can do it, you can actually go to the Direct Pay, the electronic federal tax payment system, and put in a payment for an extension there, and that automatically files your extension for you. You don't need to even fill out Form 4868. So you can do the whole thing online and make your payment online there with credit card or whatever. So it's pretty easy to do. There's several ways to do it, and not a difficult thing. Okay, a couple of exceptions I said to the general rule, and that is, in most of these exceptions, you've got to be living outside the United States or Puerto Rico. And if you are, well, then you get an automatic 2-month extension to file your extension, okay? So, and if you're in the military, if you're on outside the United States, if you're doing a duty outside the United States, you have a longer time to file your extension. It's automatic, basically. I mean, you get an automatic 2-month extension. So that's an exception. There's also an exception, and you notice here, this is not just an extension of time. This is an extension to pay as well without penalty. So, so if you meet one of these qualifications, you can actually you've actually got 2 more months to actually pay your tax as well without penalty. And so that's the difference here. It's an extension of time, not only of time, but also to pay the money, which is pretty rare. And then the next exception is, again, if you're outside the United States and you are a citizen of the United States or a resident alien, and you expect to meet the bona fide residence test or the physical presence test in another country, well, then you've got 6 months basically to file your extension. And so these are pretty rare situations. For most people out there, you're going to have to file your extension on April 15th. Except for this year, because this year's different, you know. It's COVID, and it's the freeze in Texas and stuff. So we get till, like I say, May 17th for normal people outside Texas. And then, of course, Texas people are normal too, but they had a freeze, and so they've got a little bit longer. They're not used to that freezing weather like we are in Wyoming or Idaho. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching. I mean, hopefully this will help you on your extensions, and you'll know a little bit more about what you need to do. Subscribe to the channel. I'd like that if you did. And thanks for watching. If you need anything more about taxes, we have a free course out there if you're interested in preparing taxes, and that the link to that is on this particular page. Okay. And this takes you out to our targeted tax training site, which has got a bunch of courses out there on tax preparation. So thank you for watching.